and the apprehension of, I don't want this individual to think that I'm like intentionally misgendering them or that I'm a bigot or whatever it may be. And this is a practice that I'm trying to be better at, where I will walk into a situation, introduce myself with my name and my pronouns, right? Setting the precedent that this is how I do introductions and opening the floor for the people who I interact with to do the same, right? And if I don't know someone's pronouns, I'll ask. And it takes a lot of practice, and you will mess up. And that's part of it. And I recommend people practicing with people they trust, right? Where it's okay to mess up. And I also recommend, so for instance, you know, because I am enmeshed in this at this point, it's easier for me to switch pronouns for people. But for instance, if Vivica were switching to they, them pronouns, and this is completely new for me, if I were to put your picture up on a refrigerator and every time I pass it, I speak about Vivica in the third person and use these pronouns, I can practice while I'm at home, right? And I can rewire my brain to think about this person in the way that they think about themselves and in the way that they are.
I found a really great way is like, so my primary partner, when I first met them, they were presenting as male and went by he, him pronouns. And after we started dating, they came out to me as non-binary, and they are totally fine using literally any pronouns. So she, him, they, here, z, like they will take the whole spectrum of pronouns and they will never get offended because their gender kind of varies from day to day. So like you're never quite sure, are they feeling masculine today? Are they feeling feminine today? Are they feeling non-binary today? It's kind of like a wave, but like I have made it a very distinct point is when I am speaking about them, I always use non-binary pronouns so that it gives myself the ability to practice, especially practicing with other people who may not have as much practice because, okay, well, now you're speaking to me about my partner. And so obviously if you slip up with me, I'm not going to be offended, but I will correct you. Like, okay, you said he, they, let's keep it moving. And I think that's also something that's really great to recognize is when you slip up, instead of like making it about you where it's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did that. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to misgender you. Just like, oh, hey, sorry. I slipped up. What was your pronouns again? Yeah. And then keep it fucking moving in the conversation.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like as a trans individual who gets misgendered a lot, just say, oops, correct yourself and move on. I want to forget about it as much as you do. Trust me. And also, when you misgender me, I hear you. My ears perk up immediately. Like, so you can say oops and move on, or you can pretend it never happened, which is just uncomfortable.
For everyone involved.
Yeah. Or you can make it about yourself, which is also very uncomfortable.
Interesting.
So just say oops, correct yourself and move on.
Yep. Because we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Right.
And so acknowledging that, oh shit, I fucked up. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. And then move the fuck on. Because like, obviously you're going to assume that the person that you're speaking to is not actively trying to offend you. So if you're not actively trying to offend the person that you're speaking to, you shouldn't have to say, oh my God, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to offend you. Okay, well that should have been a fucking given. So now I have to worry about like, are you actually trying to offend me with the rest of this conversation?
So what are the other pronouns besides what we know growing up with the English language to be plural pronouns?
So you got your, your basic products, she, her, hers, he, him, his, they, them, theirs, which are all part of the English language and have been for however long.
Since the time of Shakespeare.
Yeah. And then you've got what are called neo-pronouns, which are newer pronouns, right? So you've got Z, here, here's, which were the first neo-pronouns.
Spell them.
Z is Z-E, here is H-I-R, and here's H-I-R-S, which if you put she, he, her, his, hers, his next to each other, you can kind of figure out how those came to be.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have Z, Zers, Zers, which is similar. You have C-er, which is spelled C-E and E-R and ers, E-R-S. And then you have A-M, airs, which is like they, them, theirs without the TH. You have Z, I tend to mispronounce this one because it's with an X, but it's Zers, but with an X.
I've seen that one used in sci-fi.
Yeah. And there are quite a few others. Those are like the initial ones that come to mind. There are also its, and its. It, and its.
Do they have different meanings? Are they used interchangeably as somebody chooses to use them?
So first off, please don't ask people what their preferred pronouns are. Please just ask people what their pronouns are. Because if you ask someone what their preferred pronouns are, the implication is that they are just things that they prefer, but not actually their pronouns,
optional.
right?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they're optional. Thank you. So just ask people what their pronouns or their gender pronouns are.
Because preferred pronouns is a common phrase, isn't it?
It is a common phrase and it's wrong.
Okay.
Yep. Just because it's common doesn't make it right.
Yeah, because it implies that they're optional.
Yeah. Right. So I'm curious.
Interchangeability, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So they're not interchangeable.
They have different meanings, in other words. Or can anybody choose any set of them?
Yes. Anyone can choose any set of them.
Or any combination of sets.
Any combination of sets.
How would a combination
I,
work?
for instance, use ze, here, here's, and they, them, theirs.
So
when people ask me what my pronouns are, this is my little shtick that I like to do, which is my preferred ones are ze, here, here's. But if that doesn't work, you could use they, them, theirs as well. So in that instance, they are my preferred pronouns.
Oh, okay.
I prefer those over the others.
But I'm still gender non-binary, so this would be the backup.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
opposed to...
So you're not going to get offended if I say they, them, but
Right.
if someone says Z here,
I would love that.
Yeah, you like that a lot more.
Yeah.
Z here,
Yes.
H-I-R.
Yes.
That one takes a little bit of getting used to. That's that's still the one that like I'm personally like still like processing in my head, and like I can do it. I do it better when I'm typing it because I have the time to like sit and think about the conjugation of it. But like in like every day-to-day conversation, I will usually default to they, them because I'm like, well, I know I'm using non-binary pronouns, but I have used Z here backwards multiple times. And so I've been like grammatically incorrect, and I'm like, fuck.
Well, then you're just getting your grammar wrong, but at least you're like kind of getting their pronouns right.
Yeah, like I mean,
you're just grammatically incorrect.
Yeah, I'm just grammatically incorrect. So it's like I'm not upset about it, but like I'm that perfectionist where I'm like, well, if I'm gonna do it, I want to do it right. So I would rather practice that one like in my own time than do that wrong in the moment and then have to like deal with that like extra awkward like I'd actually prefer if you do it right this time.
Yeah. And like any combination of pronouns can also look like all pronouns work for me.
Okay.
Right? Like the truth is that I'm not anti for myself. And for everyone else, obviously. I'm not anti she, her, and he, him. It's just that what ends up happening is people will default to one of those. And I don't want people defaulting to binary, to pronouns that to me feel binary when they're applied to me, right? Because also keeping in mind that non-binary people can use he, him, and she, her, and still be not binary or gender queer or gender fluid,
right?
And like gender presentation does not equate to gender pronouns,
Right.
And gender identity does not equate to gender presentation, and that does not equate to gender pronouns either. Which is why if we make a practice of just introducing ourselves with our pronouns and asking other people for their pronouns, we are less likely to err.
Yeah.
How do you see society and media and maybe social media and other places where pronouns get used? How do you see these organizations adjusting to this? Are some doing a good job or some not? So Twitter, for example, I've noticed that a lot of people have started to put their pronouns in their profile, even if they're just like non-queer, I should say, cis.
So, and I'm seeing this on Instagram too. I think that if we normalize gender pronouns, if we normalize like being explicit about pronouns, we're taking the onus off of those of us who don't use the pronouns that one may expect. Right. And I encounter this in some of my fitness circles where I'm like, can we please have an intro circle before classes where we do our name and pronouns? And there's obviously going to be pushback because anything new
takes getting used to.
Yeah.
And people push back against change.
Yeah. And the change is slow and tedious, but it's happening. And we're seeing a lot of people catching on, right? And making more of a habit of it. And also, I recognize that I live in New York City and I'm in a bubble. And I am surrounded by people who I can look at them and be like, those aren't my pronouns. These are my pronouns. Please use these. And also, what are yours?
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, you're surrounded by people where you can look at them and say, I can do this and feel safe saying it.
Right.
Because that's not
like
true
if we were
everywhere.
doing that like in the Midwest or the Deep South, that might.
Or the Middle East or I don't know.
Yeah, we're just like going over like the American places. There's plenty of places in the world where it's very unsafe. But like just here in America, there are places where that could translate to you being in physical harm's way.
Yes. And, I recognize that as a white person who gets read as male often, I don't encounter the danger as often. I have been yelled at multiple times for supposedly using the wrong restroom. And I have been accosted on multiple occasions by people who don't know what's in my pants. And it's incredibly important for them to know what's in my pants.
Thanks for checking out this clip from our show.
To watch more clips or full episodes, click on our profile below.
If you want to stay up to date on all of our new episodes and videos, click subscribe.
And if you have any ideas for future guests or topics that you would like to see us cover on the show,
leave us a message in the comments or connect with us on any of our social media channels at Funtime Program.
Or on our website at funtimeprogram.com.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.